Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, intuitive tarot reader, and professional witch, and today I am creating a tarot spread for 2026. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. If you join my newsletter now, you will get my free 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you at the beginning of this year. I will be updating that for next year as well, but for now you can get the 5-card tarot spread for 2025. And if you haven't listened yet, you can check out my last two episodes where I talked about the cards I pulled and how I created the prompts, and then I went ahead and pulled my own cards, put myself in your shoes, and sort of looked back at 2025 and through those the cards and the prompts as about what I think was kind of going on. So my newsletter always has the most up-to-date info on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life. So if you want to check out more of what I'm up to day to day or get the latest updates, you can check out there. I have opened the podcast to have guests on it, as you can see and hear from this season. If you're interested or know someone that might be a good fit, you can fill out my form to be a guest on the podcast now. If you're local and you want to meet me in person, you can join us for the New Year Full Moon Healing Circle on January 3rd from 2 to 4 p.m. We still have tickets available, so we will be stepping into the new year under the light of the first full moon, and it is actually on the 3rd. So I'm very excited to get to celebrate the full moon on the full moon and the new year together, which is a sacred time for reflection, release, and renewal. Together, we'll reflect on the lessons of the past year, clear stagnant energy, and set powerful intentions for the year ahead. We meet at Thresholds Collective in Tacoma from 2 to 4 p.m., and tickets for our January 3rd event are up now, and we still have some slots available. So we would love to see you there and celebrate the full moon together in the new year. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot. In addition to the images of the cards I pull for each episode, so you can always check those out there. They are continuing to be more up to date as we go. We got a little behind in October, November with some of the images. All the episodes are, of course, still live and going out every Monday through Friday, or every day, Monday through Friday, but I will be going back in and making sure that we have all of the graphics and the cards that I pull, all that available on the website. So, welcome to season 20, where I've been talking with guests about their experiences and interest in working with the tarot, and I'm talking about what's next for the podcast. So, if you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. In season 1, I talked tarot basics, and that's where I went through my first episode about a 2025 spread. So, again, you can check out my last two episodes where I talked about that and reviewed it. If you go and I kind of think of 2025 in review. But today, of course, I'm creating a tarot spread for 2026, and you get to see kind of behind the scenes of how I do that. So, like I said, in this season, I'm talking to guests about what's next for the podcast and just what's next for the new year. So today, to avoid any confusion, I'm going to be pulling my own 6 cards, and those are going to inform the tarot spread prompts for you. And then you can go ahead and pull your own cards related to the prompts I create after I do that. And then next episode, if you want more guidance, I will step into your shoes and I'll pull my own cards for the prompts and let you know what I think is coming in 2026 for me, for the collective, etc. So, of course, you can go from this episode today and go ahead and pull your own cards, but next episode I'm going to walk through kind of how I do that and I interpret it and what I think. So today I'm putting on my creating a tarot spread hat, and next episode I'll be putting on my doing a tarot spread at. All right, so today I'm going to be doing 6 cards since it's 2026 and that feels appropriate. So like I said, I'm going to pull cards. I'm going to glean prompts from them, and that's where we're going to kind of stop today, or maybe I'll kind of pull what I think is going to be an overall message for 2026 from the cards that I pull. I'll tell you what card or what deck I'm pulling from today. So today I'm pulling from the Therapist Who Tarot deck, prompts by Drea Bloom, images by Rebecca Bloom, and this box is well loved, falling apart. You can see here, let's see, there are the images of the 2 folks that created it. And I got to know them when I went to a Therapist Who Tarot retreat in spring of 2024. Yeah, that's right. And got really excited, got really into tarot, got into doing tarot in therapy. I says I'm a therapist, and then also just kind of was like, became kind of obsessed with tarot. And that's where I kind of got the idea to start this podcast and thought about it for a long time and then launched it in 2025. So highly recommend if you're a therapist or you want to learn more about tarot, about witchcraft stuff, and incorporating it into your practice. You can check out dreabloom.com. They're a psychotherapist and do a lot of education or continuing education courses about how to incorporate tarot, witchy stuff into your therapy practice. And then Rebecca Bloom is a licensed mental health counselor and board certified art therapist. They work near where I live, and they work in South Seattle, and they did the imagery for this deck. So I will be showing their beautiful watercolor imagery today as I pull cards. And they are kind of where I learned to do tarot card collage from. So also crafting your own tarot cards, literally crafting, and doing kind of a collage style there. So that was very cool. And I still like to do that when I have time. And sometimes I lead virtual crafting, or I used to hold kind of in-person crafting, although that has paused since I have moved. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. I think for this spread, I'm going to pull 3 and 3. So we'll have like 3 across the top row and 3 across the bottom to be 6. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. So this deck I will show you, but it has images on one side and questions on the other. So here are the images. So unlike a traditional tarot deck, this deck does not have the same back on every card. Which, might look something like this, and then every card looks like this on the back, so you can't tell the cards apart when you're not looking at them. But this deck actually does not have a tarot deck guidebook and just has questions on one side and images on the other. So I'm going to be pulling from the images side, and then I'm probably going to pick, we'll see, but one of the questions or prompts on the back to create my prompts, because I figured would lend well. So we're going to get into our 2026 mindset. This of course is going out on the last day of 2025. So we're very close. I'm grabbing some of my crystals right now. I have a carnelian. I have some new crystals I got at Christmas time. A Caribbean calcite and a Shiva Lingam prophecy stone from Egypt is what it says. So I don't totally know which one is which, but these are the 2 of them there. I'll look it up in my gem book later, in my crystals book. And if you want to know more about crystals, you can check out my Tarot and Crystals season, which was season 15. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to cut my deck, which is what I like to do, and then I'm going to pull my 3 cards along the top. Wow, we're going in powerful. And 3 cards along the bottom. Fascinating. Okay. So, I guess, why do I say it's fascinating? Well, immediately we got some major arcana cards along the top, and then the bottom, they're all reversed. So that was very interesting to me. So let's go ahead. Prompt number 1. So I pulled the High Priestess, which says it's about intuition at the bottom. You can see here, she's a very blue-green lady. And on the back it says, about what should you be more cautious? About what are you being too cautious? And in what area of your life are you being too stubborn. So I think I'm going to document this as I do it. So I pulled the Priestess about intuition. And for the prompt, I'm gonna say, yeah, like where is your intuition leading you? Let's see. Cautious, too cautious, and too stubborn. When I think of the High Priestess, yeah, I think of this sort of like tuning in. Again, it's about intuition. So I get that, like, where is your intuition leading you? But I feel like there's another like prompt question coming to mind here. So I feel like it's where is your intuition leading you? I'm gonna say where should you throw caution to the wind? That's kind of what feels like it's coming up for me. So I sort of took, some of the questions on the back here about cautious and stubbornness and kind of the two, where should you be more cautious? Where are you being too cautious, right? And kind of combine them into this, like, where's your intuition leading you? And actually, where should you throw caution to the wind, right? Where should you be less cautious? And where are you being guided? So I really like that. And like, what a great initial first card prompt for 2026. All right, let's get into the second card. So I pulled the Queen of Spirals, and she says at the bottom, down to earth. So on the back, it says, what is your superpower and how is it also your kryptonite? What is it time to create in your life and what are you most proud of? So we pulled again the Queen of Spirals, which traditionally would be the Queen of Pentacles. Uh, Spirals are actually the like older term for pentacles. Like you think of what's created in nature, spirals are right the what's it called? It's escaping me right now, but the Fibonacci sequence is the numbers that create a spiral. So we have a lot of spirals in nature. So right before there were coins, before there were even pentacles, perhaps there were spirals. So pentacles is how it's described in the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck from the early 1900s, but spirals are actually kind of what came before. That deck just really informed a lot of current tarot decks. So this deck here is kind of harkening back to prior to that deck. All right, so we have the Queen of Spirals down to earth. And again, we have what's your superpower? It's like a very strengths and weaknesses cards, right? And again, spirals are about, or pentacles are about the material realm. They are the earth sign, right? She's very down to earth, literally. I'm going to write that here so that I remember these cards. And yeah, what do I feel like is the prompt here? I really like the kind of like superpower and how is it also your kryptonite? And the imagery of the spiral on her chest is like very cool. I really like it. If you're listening to this episode and not watching, you can check out the on YouTube or on Spotify, you can check out the video version of this episode. It's at Camille A. Saunders at youtube.com. And I will also, I'm continuing to work on getting the cards all posted to my website. I'm a little behind right now, but normally that's also where you can go. So I put every episode, I put the cards that I pull, if I'm using them or any imagery that I'm talking about, and then I also put at the end the like tarot card of the day that I pull on each episode. So kind of any cards or any references you can find in the show notes or on my website. If you're looking for any of them, and again, this is the Therapist Who Tarot deck. Ooh, and interesting. The Queen of Spirals is on the front here. So she is very much informing our deck here. So what do I want to think here? Superpower, kryptonite. What is the time to create in your life and what are you most proud of? Again, very like strong things. I'm gonna say, what is your greatest strength? How can you incorporate that this year? Okay, got those right. All right, okay. So next we have the Five of Wands, Strife, Trouble, and Pests. Fives are kind of always challenging cards, or like about conflict, or right here we have like trouble. The card is very red. I think all the Wands cards in this deck are red. But actually when I'm looking at it, we have cups, we have spirals, we have um, Major Arcana cards that I've pulled, and then this is the only Wands card. We don't have any swords. Or, no, yeah, so this is Wands. We have two spirals and one cup. So no swords, but we have here the Wands. All right, and it says on the back, so again, it's Strife, Trouble, and Tests. So the Five of Wands, Strife, Trouble, and Tests. Blech. That's how I feel. So it says, what relationship rupture is a time to repair? Is there someone you should be paying more attention to? And which of your relationships is the most energizing? I feel like this is a very relational card. And again, often the fives are kind of this like conflict strife, which usually, again, is with other people, not necessarily like with ourselves. Um, I'm gonna say, how are you going to be intentional with your relationships this year? So right, that could be about the ruptures or repairs, paying more attention to people, or what. Like I really like the last question of which of your relationships is most energizing, because sometimes, right, we are in relationships and we're talking about all kinds of relationships, not just partnerships or romantic relationships or sexual relationships. We're talking about friendships, we're talking about family, we're talking about all these different, because whenever we interact with other people, that is a relationship. Sometimes that's an acquaintance relationship, or it's a functional relationship, or it's a temporary relationship if you're in the line at the grocery store. But all of those things are relationships of some kind. Um, and so sometimes we are in relationships, right, that we think are good or that our other people have told us are good. But really, when we think about it, right, like they're very draining, right? That's the kind of the opposite of energizing. And so I think it's really important to think about how are you going to be intentional with your relationships this year? Which ones are important? Which ones are less important? Which ones are energizing? Which ones are draining? Which ones do actually feel really good? And which ones take something from you. And again, that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to end any relationships that take something from you, or that feel like they're unequal. But it's always interesting to notice and to maybe continue to evaluate, like, maybe the intention behind some of those relationships is like, well, they're my coworker and I want to work here, and just because we don't have a great relationship, that doesn't mean I want to leave my job, but I'm going to be intentional about maybe limiting my relationship with them, or I'm going to be intentional about knowing that it doesn't matter to me that they disagree. Okay, I'm going to move on. Trying to keep it short. Okay, so card 4. I pulled Justice in reverse, which is about balance, and we kind of have the scales of justice here. Of course, this is what it looks like upright. Um, but yeah, we're in reverse here. And so we have another Major Arcana card. Actually, it's very interesting. So I told you I laid out 3 cards and 3 cards. So the ones in the first column are both Major Arcana cards. We have the High Priestess first, and now we have Justice. The ones in the middle column are both spirals. We have the Queen of Spirals, and then we have the Seven of Spirals. And the last ones are Wands and Cups. So those ones don't necessarily, we'll see if I think that they're sort of related there. But the other ones are, it's interesting to me that we have those kind of like in the column. Okay, so Justice, about balance. So upright, this card's about what gift can you give another this week? What gift can you give yourself this week? And what is the best gift you've ever received? Um, so again, justice is about balance, right? Gifts are often about giving, but right, they also talk about receiving in this, and then what's the best gift? I'm gonna write justice reversed. about balance. And then we have, I'm going to say, what gift can you give yourself? I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to say this year. I was somewhat tempted, but I've been saying this year for all of them. So I'm going to leave that there. Okay, card 5, I pulled the 7 of spirals, but in reverse here. Um, this card says effort. And again, this is spirals or pentacles, about the material realm. Sevens are kind of like we're getting close to the end of the journey. This one seems very positive, just like the colors of it seem fairly positive, whereas this one is all the colors are a bit more like, I don't know, contrasting. And then same with the 5 of wands, there's sort of this like eeriness to the card. This one, the green, the orange, it's bright, like it seems happier. So it says, where would you like to go? In what area of your life should you be more disciplined? And about what should you be more stubborn? I love that these questions kind of like try to cover like both sides of things. So I'm gonna write 7 of spirals, reversed. And I'm gonna indicate that this is also known as pentacles. And then our word is effort. So where would you like to go and what area of your life should you be more disciplined and about what should you be more stubborn? And again, we're thinking about in reverse. So I'm thinking about, okay, where are you putting more effort into something than you're getting back? Again, it feels relational when I'm thinking about that. It doesn't, maybe it's not for you, but maybe you're putting effort into like making elaborate dinners every night, and maybe you set that goal, but now it's like, that's not always practical, or like maybe I'm going to do it once a week. So just thinking about that sort of like energetic exchange of like, okay, right, we're putting a lot of effort into something, and um, and it feels good. Like sometimes that effort, again, just it feels balanced. Back to justice here. It feels like, okay, I'm putting a lot of effort, but I'm getting a lot out of it. I just held like a family Christmas celebration over the weekend. There were 20 people. That's more people than have ever been in my house, and perhaps have ever been in any place I've lived. I guess except for maybe when I was a child. My parents were hosting a party. And it was a lot of effort that I put in. There was a lot of planning involved. There was a lot of baking and cooking up until the day. Then there was the actual day of hosting that many people and fielding questions and cooking and playing with the children and all that kind of things. And there was the cleanup afterwards and everything. But like it felt worth it. Everyone really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It actually didn't feel as stressful on the day of. And just got to kind of sit back and watch it all unfold. And yeah, there were maybe things I would change for the future if I did it again. Or, oh, maybe there, you know, one time I maybe wouldn't have made this much food there, or I would have made a little bit more here. But overall, like it felt like a good energetic exchange. So I see this card as being about like, where is it not feeling like that? And then finally, I pulled the 3 of Cups reversed, which is about community when it's upright here. And we kind of see the, so often the 3 of Cups is depicted as like 3 people like hanging out. Sometimes they're like, they look like really good friends, or a lot of cooperation, or maybe like it's a very like merriment card, like drinking together or doing things, or yeah. Anyway, so it says community. So on the back, it says, what disturbs your peace? What brings you peace? And what is your relationship with prayer? That's very interesting to me because this feels very like, when I look at it about community, I think of like, again, like parties, hanging out with people, friendships. But when I read these things on the back, right, peace and prayer and your relationship with that, those all feel very like personal. So this also gives me, actually, the imagery gives me a very like peaceful feeling. It's like this dark blue. This feels very like harmonizing. We have the yellow, which yellow is generally seen as like a positive, happy color a lot of the time. If you want to check out my season on color magic, you can check out all the different kind of things that are associated with different colors. So I definitely think of that on here. Blue in this deck is associated with cups, right? Because of water. So like oceans, right? Bodies of water, we think of as blue. So yeah, here it's talking about peace. What's your relationship with prayer? I'm going to think about um, how are you fostering your relationship with self? Maybe there's another word in there. With how are you fostering your relationship with yourself? How are you fostering? Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna leave it. It's a little ambiguous, I would say. Um, but actually, I feel like a lot of these prompts that I came with are very personal. I think I'm gonna have to look at it now, but when I looked at the cards in review for last year and the prompts I came up with there, they felt very, I'm gonna look at them now, but um there's stuff about fears, are not seeing alternatives, flexibility. I guess they were still pretty personal, but it felt almost about like external things, like where do you need to step back for a moment to get the full picture? Where do you need to slow down? What do you need help with? Conflict, like all of those things, like conflict, right? Needing help, like those are relational things, right? Like if you're going to ask for help, you need to ask of someone. If you're going to have conflict, usually it's with someone, sometimes with yourself, but inner conflict. But when I look at these ones for 2026, it's very like centered, like your intuition, your strengths, your intentionality with your relationships, the gift you give yourself, and fostering your relationship with self. So, yeah, I'm just kind of thinking like that. So I'm going to write that in our overall messages section. So relationship to self. Um, what else did I just say? So like intentionality. Um, makes me think of like inner child or like fostering your inner child, which would be like thinking about things you loved as a kid and kind of like nostalgic or tapping into those things again. I know one I love to talk about is coloring. And I just got more coloring books at Christmas. This is one of them. There's a Green Witch coloring book here by Erin Murphy Hissock, author of The Green Witch, and illustrated by Sarah Richard. I'll put this in my show notes references. But I love a good coloring book. What else is on here? Like intuition, um, and gifts. And I think gifts, right? Gifts can be like strengths or like literal gifts. Like they could be things you literally give yourself. Again, like ways I foster my inner child are like coloring, painting my nails, buying Legos when I really want them. Like I have Wicked Legos I got, I think myself last Christmas, I think, or like New Year's. I got it last year after the first Wicked Part 1 came out. Because I love Legos and I got the whole like Oz, City of Oz, green Legos with the minifigures of Glinda and Elphaba, and the Wizard, and I think Madame Morrible and Fiyero. I think those are it. All right, so anyway, so today I pulled cards from the Therapist Who Tarot deck, prompts by Drea Bloom, images by Rebecca Bloom, and that will be in my show notes if you want to look at that deck. I think you can get it on Etsy right now, is where you can get it. I bought it from them in person when I was at the Therapist Tarot retreat, but they sell it through their website. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull a card to see what am I saying? Yeah, like what other message we have today. I'm still enjoying my Seasons of the Witch, Samhain Oracle deck. I will show it here. So by Lorraine Anderson, Juliette Diaz, and illustrated by Giada Rose. All right. So we go ahead and see what other messages to know today. Do we need to hear? My candles are going. I think one of them just went. Okay. Let's see, what other message do we need today? I got pumpkin, uncaging the spirit within thou, the fertile power you hold, to taste your buttery velvet upon tongue is a gift I shall cherish each day that comes. So here we have like a pumpkin, a very fall scene, which is the time of Samhain, like this deck is called. I've pulled this card before, I know, because there is a spiced pumpkin cake recipe, and I made it last time I pulled this card, which was fun. So I did pull it upright. It says, pumpkins has been a tradition for Samhain for hundreds and hundreds of years. Jack-o'-lanterns were carved to scare away the ghosts and goblins that were said to roam the streets on Samhain. It originally began with a variety of root vegetables, from turnips to potatoes, that people would carve, and then pumpkins became the preferred method for the abundance of space for carving. I also feel like it's because squash came from the Americas. So, of course, like it could not be used until the Americas were uh, until like Europeans started to get seeds from the Americas. I don't totally know that to be 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. It says the pumpkin is more than a scare tool for the witch, however, it's a symbol of protection, fertility, and abundance. The pumpkin represents the power of the womb, so it's no surprise that its color corresponds with the color of the sacral chakra, so orange, and its size is a symbol of prosperity and having enough to go around. You have pulled pumpkin today because you are protected and safe from harm. There's a presence around you keeping the scary things away from your front door. You can rest easy knowing that your back is guarded. This card also means taking some steps to keep negative people out of your life. You may need to reduce the amount of time you spend in some relationships and set some firm boundaries. Doing so will allow you to put your energy where it is needed most. And I feel like that's what came out of the 6-card reading as well. Was like, where do you need to protect your energy? You know, where do you want to use it? Where do you want to be intentional about spending effort, and where not? And again, that was the Seasons of the Witch Oracle, or Samhain Oracle in particular. They do have ones, at least for some of the holidays, the pagan holidays. So I know they just came out with the like Yule deck, because I saw someone use it the other day. But yeah, so links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you want to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday, for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com, with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right. And check out next episode to hear me actually use the spread. So we're going to use the prompts next time, and I'm going to use different cards, and we're going to pull cards to see kind of, okay, like what are our answers kind of to the prompts that I created today. Yeah, so I will see you soon. Hopefully check out next episode, or kind of pull cards on your own, and then maybe check out next episode to see maybe messages for the collective, or what I think is going to be coming up. And I'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.